Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you're new. Today's video is going to be my October plan with me. My September spreads were super colorful, so I wanted to do something a little more simple for this month. I've seen other artists do black and white themes before, and I always thought they looked super cool, so I thought I'd try it out for October. Plus, I think the black theme fits super well with the Halloween vibe, and to keep the Halloween feel, I decided to go with bats for my overall theme, and I am honestly loving how everything is turning out so far. And on this cover page, I decided to put a couple little bats and a moon just to keep the spooky vibe for the Halloween time. And then I decided to write October in the super simple calligraphy. On the other side of the cover page, I decided to put a cute Halloween themed quote that says, "'Tis the season to be spooky." I usually don't put anything on this side of the cover page because I either never have enough time to make a spread or I'm honestly just too lazy. But I somehow got really ahead with planning these spreads so I could finally put something here and have a full cover page. And then I just decorated around the quote with a few bats just to keep up with the theme and to match the other side of the cover page. And if you guys are ever curious about how I get super clean quote pages, the ruler will be your best friend. The ruler helps me keep my lettering super straight and neat, and it might take a bit of extra time, but it's definitely worth it to keep the spread looking nice and clean. For my monthly overview, I decided to bring back the full 2-page spread because I'm finally starting to have more plans and I have more things to keep track of. For the last couple of months, pretty much April through September, I didn't really have anything to put in the spread because we never really left the house. So I was just using a small 1-page monthly overview calendar for those months. And even though I put them in my bullet journal, they pretty much went unused and stayed empty the entire month. But I'm really happy I can start planning things and using this spread again because it helps keep me organized and stay on track for the entire month. Let me know in the comments below if you guys like to use 2 pages for your monthly calendar or if you only like to use 1. I personally like to use 2 pages, but if I really don't have that much going on, I'll typically use just 1 page for my calendar and then put a planning quote on the 2nd page. And then next to my calendar, I have 2 sections, one for goals and one for important dates. I personally like to set monthly goals for myself instead of yearly goals just because short-term goals are a little bit easier for me to keep track of and stick to rather than the long-term 6 to 12 month goals that you set for yourself at the beginning of the year. And I also typically lose track of my yearly goals a few months into the year. So breaking them up into smaller monthly goals really helps me stay on track with attaining all of the goals that I want to get to by the end of the year. So I just want to talk about this bullet journal that I'm using real quick. I am using the Notebook Therapy Nighttime Bullet Journal, and it is one of the best bullet journals I have ever used. The pages are a true white, so your marker colors don't get distorted, and the pages are really thick, so there's never any ghosting or bleeding. I'm using a black Tombow brush pen for this theme, and it doesn't bleed through the pages at all, even in the spaces that I draw over multiple times. It's really one of the best bullet journals out there for bullet journaling, so I highly recommend that you guys try one out for yourself. I will leave a link to their website in the description, and you can also use my code BUJO by Low10 to get 10% off your purchase. This first weekly spread is one of my all-time favorites. I probably use this spread almost every month because it just gives me so much space to write all of my daily tasks. I've used layouts before that didn't give me enough space, and it almost made me anxious because I couldn't fit everything I wanted under each day, but I've never had that problem with this spread. And I also love that the daily headers can be made in so many different ways. Like for this month, I made them in the shape of a bat to go with my October theme, but I've also used a more simple ribbon or banner in past spreads. Even by just changing up the daily header helps keep the spreads looking different enough that I don't feel like I'm constantly repeating a layout. Sometimes I also like to add some drawings near the bottom corners of the boxes depending on my theme, just to give it a little bit more life. Like for example, I used a lavender theme back in April, so I just had a really simple box banner and put some drawings of lavender at the corner of each daily box. And then I just used a white paint pen to write in all of the days. I actually had to go over the writing a couple of times to get them to be as white as I wanted them to be, but even after doing that, it still didn't bleed through the page at all. This second weekly spread is also one that I love to use pretty often because just like the first spread, it gives you a lot of space for planning or journaling. I like to try to make sure my weekly spreads for the month don't look too similar, especially when they're back-to-back weeks. I'll usually switch off between a more open layout and a boxy layout, but that didn't really happen for these 2 weeks in this month. So to make sure that they don't look too similar, I had the first week with the days going from left to right, and it pretty much took up the whole page. And then I made this second spread with the days going from top to bottom, and I centralized the days in the middle of the spread so I could add some doodles around the outside. So even though they're both kind of boxy spreads, they have different kind of flow, which helps keep them looking different from each other. This layout also works for so many different themes because you can pretty much put any doodle on the outer edges and it'll look amazing. I've done lemons, multiple different flowers, and now bats with this spread, and I love how all of them have turned out. So you can't really go wrong with this spread in my opinion. You could also move the monthly header to the side where I've drawn the bats and then have an extra box for notes if you're someone who likes to take notes throughout the week. So this spread is super versatile and you can change it up so that it's functional for your everyday life. So just like the first weekly spread, I used the white paint pen to write in the days. This pen was really giving me a hard time when I made this spread, and it just didn't want to work correctly, but we made it happen anyway. I had to go over the writing a few times, but I did end up getting it to be as white as I wanted it to be. These headers can also be easily changed up if you want to use this spread multiple times but don't want to have them all look the same. I have a few examples of how you can edit this spread on my Instagram, so you can click the link in the description to check out my previous spreads. For my third weekly spread, I decided to use this geometric box for the days. I love using this design because you can move the boxes around into so many different layouts. I've used this design a few times, and all of my spreads look completely unique just by putting the boxes in a different order. They are skinnier boxes than most of my other spreads, so if you're someone who likes to write a lot in each box, then this might not be the best layout for you. But if you're someone like me who only writes a few words per task or note, then you might like this spread. A main reason why I like to include this spread is because it has room for a note section. A lot of spreads that I use never have room just for notes, so I like to try to incorporate at least one spread with a section like this every month. There's also room to make a goals section if you like to track weekly goals as well. You would simply just draw an extra box and you can easily have both a section for notes and goals. Let me know in the comments what you guys think of my October spreads. I'm curious to know what kinds of layouts you guys like the most or the least. I've definitely started to use the same few spreads every month, so I want to get some inspiration from you guys and try some new layouts that you like. I'm also curious to know who else needs to use a ruler, because I can't not use a ruler when I have to make a straight line. My OCD is just too crazy to not use one, so I want to know if anyone else is like me with that. For this last weekly spread, I wanted to incorporate my theme into each daily section like I had done for the first weekly spread. So to do that, I decided to draw a little bat at the corner of each box to hold the number of the day. And then I just drew simple box banners for each day of the week. Again, if you're someone who likes to write a lot under each day, then you might want to make these boxes longer, which is definitely possible because there's so much room to expand these boxes. There's also room for an extra box if you like to add in a notes or a goals section. I didn't really want to include it into this spread because I had it in the previous week and I don't typically use them very often. And then I just decorated the empty space around the boxes with my monthly header, some bats, and of course the mini calendar. Just like my other spreads, I decided to color in the banners with my black marker and then write in all of the days with my white paint pen. If you guys want to see the rest of my October spreads, like all of my trackers, then be sure to follow me on Instagram. I'll go ahead and leave a link to my page in the description below. But that is all for my October plan with me. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Be sure to give it a thumbs up if you did enjoy it, and don't forget to subscribe.